Here with Chad Booth. He is the host of At Your Leisure in the county seat. You have some pretty interesting topics coming up. We appreciate you stopping by here to discuss some of them.
Well, it's always nice to give a heads up on things and kind of coordinate so that you and I don't walk on each other's toes.
Yeah.
Two back-to-back shows.
That's right. We got to make sure we have interesting topics but different, right?
That would be really sad if we talked about the same thing on the same day, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and we've been able to avoid that so far, so that's good. Communication, that's what it's all about.
That's it. That's true. That's it.
Okay, let's start off with Cedar City and some predator control policy changes.
Yeah, well, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife made some changes not too long ago, within the year, on how to manage the prairie dogs. And the prairie dogs have been a huge problem down there in Iron County, the cemeteries and at the airport, and created all kinds of problems on highways and roads, particularly around Prairie. So the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has now changed the way they can handle them on private property and state land, and how they can remove them, and how they can get rid of the problem. And we're going back to see a year later how that's working.
And this is frustrating thing because the federal government designates the prairie dog as an endangered species, but then local landowners are left to deal with the consequences.
Well, it's true, because part of the problem is that the counts are done on public land, and those are the heads that count, and the ones that are on private land don't necessarily get into that head count. And so they may look endangered because there are only 30 of them out on an acre of public land, but man, where all the hay and barley is and all the alfalfa,
all the good
there are
stuff
millions of them over there, because that's where the good eats are.
Right. Okay.
So.
We're also taking a look at the Brine Head burn scar. They were just talking about, Dan, was the danger of the rain coming in, and we're seeing the backlash from that in the Brine Head area.
That's true. Obviously, just this week there was or today there was a mudslide down there, but. You know, these pictures we just took yesterday, and so this is a year after the fire, and you'll see
still see the devastation there.
No growth in some of those areas. The ground was sterilized. There is some ground growth coming back, but the problem is when the trees burn out, they burn out the roots and everything. And so what happens is when it rains, all the animal droppings get washed down into where the roots used to be in the trees. Now they're contaminating the water supply. So that's why Panguitch is having to drill a new well. It's cost them $1.5 million. They still don't have it working right yet because the springs that have fed the city get contaminated every few weeks.
And what type of a burden does that put on them locally?
Oh, huge. You know, they've not been caught with the inability to supply culinary water yet, but it's getting really close, because they've had to shut springs down. Fortunately, they haven't had to take them all offline yet at any given time. But if the rains come, which they should in the next few months, they're going to have a problem. So they've got to
get even worse.
Oh yeah.
All right. So those are some of the upcoming episodes you can expect to see on the county seat. Let our viewers know where to catch you.
Okay. Well, we're right after you on Sunday morning. On Saturday night, we're right after At Your Leisure at 11 p.m.
Okay. Right
here on ABC4. Good for Utah, and good for us. We like being your partners on broadcasting.
Yeah, it always works well. I kind of tend to focus more on the state outlook, and then you kind of take it more of local. So 8:30 Sunday mornings.
Correct.
All right. Great to see you. Thanks so much for being here.
Appreciate it.